afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. How's everybody doing today?
Wonderful.
Yep.
Wonderful.
All right, all right.
Day in the
Well,
neighborhood.
yes. Welcome to another edition of the CareSouth Carolina Community Live Podcast. I am your host, Mark Calhoun, and I am with my co-host and partner in crime.
Hi, this is Daniel Myers, MATSUD Program Director for CareSouth Carolina. Glad to be back on this what's called Thankful Thursday. Glad
Yep.
glad to be back. Glad to be back.
Yes. That means one day to Friday.
Yeah.
It's Friday Eve,
Yes.
which
Friday
leads
Eve.
into the weekend. We leads
Friday
into some
Eve or
days
Friday
off.
Junior. Yeah.
Yes. And again, my name is Mark Calhoun. I'm Director of Social and Community Services, CareSouth Carolina. Listen, we brought you some great information last week. We told you it was Mental Health Awareness Month
Yes.
because this week, we have a dynamic counselor to bring to you this week.
Well, don't oversell me, Mark.
He just telling the truth. He
He
just
just
telling the
telling
truth.
the truth.
I do
That's
love what
it.
I do. I love what I do. I'm thankful to get to do what I do.
Absolutely. So like we told you, this month was dedicated to mental health awareness. We have a series of podcasts coming through, start kicking off last week. This week, we have Miss Lora Chavis, LPC Lora Chavis. Now, I'm going, you know what? I'm not even going to do that because she know herself more than we know her.
That's right.
So we're going to let her introduce herself.
Go ahead.
But I want to tell you, we're going to delve into the world of school-based counseling,
Yes, we are.
why it's important, and
Yes.
how you can get connected with a school-based counselor at CareSouth Carolina.
That's right.
Awesome.
That's
Well,
right.
I am
So, go
Laura.
ahead.
I have been working with CareSouth since August of 2015, and I was hired to be a school-based counselor. I have my previous experience include I was speaking with Daniel last week. I did some alcohol and drug counseling in my early career as a therapist. I've worked with mental health centers, and I've also taught psychology courses at our local I'm telling my age, Northeastern Tech. So I've done private work, private practice, but this opportunity came to me as a blessing. I was looking for a change in my career. I've been teaching for 9 years, and I just happened to onto CareSouth website. And within weeks, I was talking to Liz, our behavioral health director, when I came on board. And she was in the middle of building with Chesterfield County School District, building a school-based program for Chesterfield County. And that's where I reside and where I work. Tri-County Mental Health has been in our schools for quite a while, but they did not have the manpower to man each of the schools. So our superintendent at the time reached out to Liz and to the Alpha Center, and between those three agencies, we staffed the schools in Chesterfield County. I can't remember how many schools we had at the time, but I'll tell you now, we're in every school in Chesterfield County except 2. And you can say 3 if you count MACB as separate schools, but they're all in one spot from elementary school all the way through high school. And just over the years has transitioned that when an opening came available in a school, the school district reached out to CareSouth and said, hey, do you have somebody? When we started, there were 2 full-time counselors, me and Brad Burgess, and Jack Ryan filled in Chesterfield. So we had 2 full-time and a part-time. Now we have 9 full-time school-based counselors in Chesterfield County and in Marlborough County. Marlborough County is, they are wanting more and more from us, and hopefully we can provide that need.
Yes.
We have one full-time at McCall Elementary Middle School, and then we have someone at Marlborough County High School, and we have someone at Blenheim Elementary Middle. But like I said, they're ready for us to come in as their platform allows that, and that we can provide. So just really thankful. Like I said, really thankful to be here. It's been very rewarding. never thought that I would be as connected to teenagers, because I work at a high school, connected to teenagers and be able to, sorry about that, y'all, to serve these students for now going on 7 years. Well, no, about to be 8 years. So is that, I guess I could tell you, I have a master's degree from Francis Marion in clinical psychology. Licensed. I've been licensed for therapy since 2013. I think that's about it. I'm a mom, grandmom, wife, all that good stuff too.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, Laura. So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Did you teach when it was Northeastern Technical College or Chesterfield Marlboro?
I taught at when it was Northeastern. I was a student at Chesterfield Marlboro when back in the 90s. I was a student. I started my education there. I worked as a secretary and went to school there at my lunch break and at night, and then found my way to St. Andrews in Laurinburg to finish my bachelor's degree, and then ended up at Francis Marion. So, and then cycled back around and taught at Northeastern, taught psychology courses.
That's wonderful. You had mentioned earlier about telling your age, and I always tell people, some people just know it as Northeastern Tech. You know, some of the younger folks, they don't know it as Chesterfield Marlboro. I was in during the transition. I started at Chesterfield Marlboro, but I ended as Northeastern Tech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was I'm glad I started there. Not the kids that are here. There's a lot of pressure for kids to follow a certain path. And this time of year, the last few months with working with seniors, just really the expectation of going to a 4-year college, go to a university. I've got to fit this certain pattern. And it puts a lot of stress on kids. Just to help. And one of the things that I like to think that I do is help their children, young people, find their voice and find their passion, that they're not fulfilling someone else's dream, because that's that puts a lot of pressure on a kid. But that's, I'm proud of my roots at Chesterfield Marlboro.
So before we go ahead, Dan.
No. Go ahead.
So I was just going to ask before we dive into how to access the services of school-based counseling. Could you tell us from your perspective as a counselor, why do you think school-based counseling is important? Why is it important to have a counselor in a school as opposed to the older models, the traditional models? The parents get off work, they pick the kid up from school, the child up from school, and they take them to the counselor's office. Why is it important for us to have a school-based counseling program?
Well, you hit on one of the things is transportation. And as we all know, in our area, transportation can be a barrier for services. Yeah. And also in our area, the resources for licensed therapists. We're really, even though CareSouth is blessed to have our whole department, and every CareSouth has at least one, we don't have that many licensed therapists in our area. But being in the school, when a crisis happens, I'm here. When a kid is having a panic attack, when a kid is really stressing or dealing with some suicidal thoughts, when a kid comes to school after fighting with mom and can't focus in a class, I'm here. Now I set my own schedule. That's a blessing, because I have a plan for a week of the students that I need to see, but every week there's some work-ins on kids that need some attention right now. And sometimes it's very serious, and sometimes it's my boyfriend broke up with me or my girlfriend broke up with me, and I don't know how I'm going to go on, So the availability, and I'm blessed in that way because I am full-time here. I'm here 5 days a week. We have other full-time. There's only one other counselor who's in the school every day of the week, and the others go to different schools. But the availability is there. You don't have to worry about transportation. They don't have to miss school. They have to miss maybe a class in a day, in a school day, but they're not having to check out of the school, miss instruction, that kind of thing. That's, but to me, that's the availability, um, and the and being here when they need me, when a need is there.
Right.
They don't have to wait till next week or 2 weeks down the road for a therapy appointment.
Right. And that's a good thing too, because I know um, now in current times there is a whole lot of problems that kids are faced with. You know, you have the drug problems, you have the peer pressure has been a problem ever since I've been in school.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have losing their friends, you know, to gun violence, to gang violence, to just overdoses. It's a whole bunch that you have to deal with now in
Right.
school that was unheard of when I was in school. Right? It was unheard. I mean, it was very rare that you heard about somebody my age or school age dying of overdose, or somebody committing suicide, or somebody being involved in gang violence. But now it's a everyday conversation, and so I know not only does it take a toll on the students, but does that take a toll on you as a counselor, being there and have to carry that burden?
And thank you for that question. Definitely, that I am a I'm a sensitive person, but I also am a person of faith, and I realize that I am I'm an instrument in God's hand, and when I feel like I'm carrying too much, it, I have to, turn it over to him. As a matter of fact, I don't start a day without saying, God, I can't do this. I can't do this. I have skills. I have 25 years doing this type work in counseling. Um, um, but I'm still human. Like, and it can get heavy. I carry some of the children home with me at night in my heart, and just praying that they're going to be okay. Um, yeah. But that's, at the same time, realize my limitations, and that I am a resource, but I can't. I tell people I don't have any power to make anybody better. I have skills, I have resources that I can suggest to you. But what's amazing to me, and what's always been amazing to me about this work, is how powerful it is to have someone to listen to you,
That's it.
to really be present with you and hear, to hear you and see you. And as going back to, if a little bit back to my story, the reason I became a therapist is because of my own therapy in a really difficult time in my life. That and from that I knew, I felt a call toward this. I call it a ministry toward this,
Right.
the work that I do. But right. Um, Yeah, they have some heavy stuff, and
Right.
it keeps your eyes open. It keeps you don't take I don't you don't take things for granted that my sweet little family life. Everybody doesn't have that to go home to.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So I know we talk about, especially this month, one of the tenets of this month is to kind of dispel the myths and the rumors, and get rid of the stigma around um, being able to get mental health counseling, or be able to talk to someone. And as adults, we know and we see, being in this field in community health, and even in our own waking lives, we see where there's a hesitation amongst folks, especially in my community, to seek counseling. From your perspective, working with the kids, do you see that same type of hesitation and worry about stigma amongst the children?
Um, I have run across that some, but more often it's the parent. I've had children, young people who want to be seen, and have to, of course, parents have to give consent, in order for me to provide therapy here at the school. I can engage in a crisis, whether it's my student or not, because of my licensure, I can intervene in a crisis, but I can't provide therapy for someone under 17 without consent from parent. And I have had to tell children, I'm sorry, I cannot ethically or legally provide service to you until we get consent from your parent. So that and to me, that's more on the parents' part. Here it is, Marek. I told you.
Yeah, you did. It's no worries.
But,
she's in school, so you got those school announcements going on.
This is real time. So it's perfect.
Yeah.
So while can you hear us?
It's hard to hear right this minute. Okay, she's hung up.
Okay, so Laura, what I want to say is this: is that children get a bad rap, right? Because their minds don't think like adult minds, and we forget as adults that we were children at some point, and the problems that we face as children at the time, they were real problems, and to the adults, they're trivial. Mm-hmm. But breaking up with my girlfriend, who I love with all my little heart, is devastating to me, and to other people. Well, you get over it,
right?
What advice would you give to people whenever children approach them with issues that we consider trivial? You said something very important. It's to me, it's a blessing sometimes just to have somebody. They don't have to give me a response, but sometimes for me to be able to vocalize my concerns and my issues to somebody, because when I hear it, sometimes I get my own answer by me just talking. Exactly. And so, but some children don't have that ability to at home to be able to voice that because their issues seem so trivial to the household. How can you encourage people to listen more to children? That would make your job easier at school as well.
Yeah. And that is the message I try to the parents that do engage in the therapeutic process. It's just to be a listener. That we are so quick. I tell you another thing as a parent, that the idea that my child's behavior is a reflection on me, and to an extent that is true, but at the same time they're not you. They're not you. They have a whole different personality. They're coming up in a whole different culture. And you're exactly right. Breaking up with a girlfriend or a boyfriend, it may be short-lived, but in the moment that is important to them. And when we trivialize their issues, we trivialize. I can't say the word, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Them.
Right.
We trivialize them, and what they need is support. And just saying, that must have been horrible. Given just support, just listening.
Yes.
And it is true that that there will be someone else down the road, and you will mend from this broken heart. But in this moment, I'm hurting, and I need somebody to see that and witness that and validate that.
Right.
And the best way to do that is listening.
Listening. Yeah. I know that at one point my son was he was about to graduate, and he was home, and this was during COVID, and he was home by himself one day. That he was getting his grades and getting his work done, and all of a sudden I get a phone call from him saying, "Daddy, I can't breathe. I don't know what's going on. I can't breathe. I feel like I'm just overwhelmed. I don't know what's going on. And at that moment, it scared me. But then I was relieved that he thought enough for me to call me. Mm-hmm. And I had to let him talk. I had to let him talk it out because I didn't know what he was feeling at that moment, and he had to explain to me, Daddy, this is what I'm feeling. This is what's going on, and it was a panic attack. But to him, he was dying.
Mm-hmm. Because exactly what it feels like.
Yeah, because he can't catch his breath and he don't know what's going on, and the world is so confusing right now. I don't know what to do. But if we react incorrectly when responding to our children, we perpetuate the stigma behind treatment and therapy, because If you can't talk to somebody in your house, then who can you talk to?
Right.
So the first step, I think, in even getting school-based even more successful than it is to educate the parents that counseling is not a red scarlet, a scarlet letter on your chest saying that you're crazy. And that's the problem that we have. If you talk to a counselor, then you're crazy and you got a problem.
Right.
Or you going out there to that crazy lady, right?
Yeah, there ain't nothing wrong with you. Just suck it up, all that kind of thing. One person that I'm thinking of the most is the little girl that so much wanted counseling, but her mother wouldn't agree to it. I called her, the principal called her, the guidance counselor called the mom, and my conversation with her is she's just seeking attention. And I agreed. I said, you're right. She's seeking attention. She's depressed. She's anxious, and she needs attention. Yes. Maybe if allowing her to come to speak to someone would help her, would provide that attention, but also give her skills to deal with the other stuff that's going on. So, but you're exactly right. The way people think about what therapy is, and what they think it's not.
Right.
But anyway, and I will say that child eventually did get permission to have therapy, and we've done some really good work together.
What about the teachers? Do you guys have an opportunity at school-based to have a conversation and talk to the teachers as well?
Mm-hmm. Definitely, and they definitely they make referrals for counseling here. I make it a point that when school starts back in August, I will attend a faculty meeting. I wanted my principal to be here so you could meet him and let him share with you what it's meant to him to have a mental health in the school, but he wasn't available. But anyway, he allows me a segment of their in-service time to share what I do, tell them how to do the referrals, tell some success stories and things like that. So I would like to say 100% of the faculty are behind and support what I do, but I have a lot of people that really do and make those referrals, and they see it. I tell you what, English teachers, and they get them kids to write, and the things that they write down break their heart, scare them, and all this kind of thing. I'll get referrals from them and say, hey, let's talk about this. Maybe we can do some, maybe some counseling would help. Other kids. You asked me about teachers. I get wonderful support here at this school from the faculty and the staff and the administration. But another cool thing that has happened that I wasn't expecting is kids that I have seen or do see will bring their friends or tell their friends, you need to talk to Ms. Chavis. I have a vivid memory, probably within my first 3 years here, of one of my students dragging another student in. She's got to talk to you, that kind of thing. So when the kid finds it or the student finds it worthwhile and helpful enough to say, here, let's talk. You need to talk to this lady too. That's very rewarding.
But there's a passage in scripture that says, out of the mouth of babes, right? Mm-hmm. And so, which means that sometimes we can learn more from our children than we think. And children are very open-minded, and they're very open to interventions. Whereas as adults, we close our minds to a lot of things because we feel like we have all the answers.
Right.
And so, and then, and I hate to be spiritual, but that's my first job. But it also goes back to say that, unless you come as children, which means innocent, ready to receive help, it's hard to get help.
Right.
So I applaud you for what you do in the school, because first of all, that's one of the most difficult populations of people to deal with because they're everywhere. They're not mature yet. And so you have to be patient. Right. You have to have a special gift to be able to deal with children. And help.
And I'm just as flabbergasted as anybody else. Why, I work with kids and I work with women. That was my wheelhouse before the high school these past 7 going on 8 years. But I have been so rewarded in this job and I really believe, Daniel and Marek, is because I do listen and they know they have my attention.
Yes.
Now there have definitely some resistant ones, kids that were recommended counseling by somebody in the school or their other parent wants them to have. especially young men, and especially young Black men, and this resistant that to having counseling. And I have this little ace up my sleeve that I'll say, look, you don't have to come. I'm not going to make you come, but will you come for at least 4 sessions? And after those 4 sessions, if it's not doing anything for you, if you still don't want to, we'll still be friends, but we don't have to keep going. Never lose one.
Bait and catch. Bait and catch.
I know, right?
Because
I had a kid that met DJJ. He had to come because of some stuff he was into, and he had, in order to fulfill his probation, what probation requirements, he had to see a mental health therapist. And he wasn't what I say resistant, but he didn't say a lot. And I didn't know, I did a lot of teaching with him and decision making and that kind of thing. But when he got his ankle bracelet off, guess who he came to see? He came in the door, Miss Chavis, I don't have my ankle bracelet anymore. Man, that's awesome. That is wonderful. And every now and again, he'll pop in and tell me how he's doing in school, how he's doing in basketball. And so I know that even though when I don't feel like it doesn't seem like I'm making any headway, it meant something, it meant something.
It's like Marek said early on in the conversation, culturally, in our culture as men, that's a sign of weakness to have to go for help. Yeah. We should be able to solve these problems ourselves. And culturally it's a barrier to so many things that can be corrected in our culture, because getting some things off our chest relieve pressure. It helps us medically with some of our health issues, some of our anger management issues, and ability to cope with decision making. There's so many avenues out just talking to somebody in counseling. I had to learn that late in life because I was taught, a man, suck it up. You suck it up and you keep moving. Don't you dwell on the past, and you move forward and you persevere through it. And don't you cry for nothing. Don't you cry in front of nobody. But I found that crying is quite it's quite refreshing.
It is.
Yes.
It really is. It's really refreshing.
Yeah, there are chemicals that are released when you cry that improve your mood.
Yes.
Improve your functioning. But it's you're exactly right. That it tends to be men, but we like women like to talk, and we know we can provide emotional support for one another without feeling like I've got to fix this. Right. Men have this thing in their brain that when a problem presents itself, I got to fix it. That's my job. And thankfully, you have skills and abilities that were built into your DNA and your all your chromosomes and stuff. You're fixers, you're providers, you're protectors. And if the provider and protector admits a weakness, then maybe something's going to take me down. But no, it's to me it's wild that just laying and you talk about scripture that laying a burden down. Laying a burden down, and having someone to share that burden with you lightens your load. But I don't know.
Absolutely, as protectors, we, as you said, but if we can't keep ourselves together, we're not doing our job to be able to protect and guide and do those things. So, Lora, we want to take a peek behind the curtain real quick, if you don't mind. So, as a counsel working, and you mentioned earlier your background working with a multitude of individuals. Mm-hmm. Is counseling a child the same as counseling an adult?
It depends on the age and the maturity of the child. Okay. But with children, you're mainly teaching skills, and the success of counseling with a child weighs heavily on that parents' involvement as well, because I can teach skills, and a skill that a kid needs is to know how to recognize. Now we got mowing the grass outside my window. Teaching a child how to verbalize his or her feelings, giving them words for what they feel in their body that they don't know, they don't know what to do with. So actually teaching them a language of feelings, teaching them when I'm angry, this is how to manage it. When I'm sad, this is how to manage it. Um, but having that buy-in for the parent, because then they got to go home and practice this stuff.
Yeah.
If they see me an hour a week, but without the reinforcement from home. So, but the kids this age, I'm thankful when a parent is engaged. I don't get as much parent engagement. And a lot of that is the kid's choice. They say they don't understand me anyway. That I don't want my mom to know this. I don't want my dad to know that. But they're more able, to do this dialogue back and forth, and actually say what's on their heart and what's on their minds, and have some insight that a younger kid might not have.
Speaking of that parent involvement, being in the setting that you're in, do you have? I guess I'm gonna ask you this way: a lot of times when in settings outside of the school environment, and say in an office or a private office, there may be times where you can bring in the parent, or you can have family counseling because there may be some things going on between the siblings or
Right.
some type of family dynamic there. In the setting that you're in the school, do you find that, are you able to do that type of counseling, or
not as much as I'd like?
Okay.
Not as much as I'd like. And if you ask the benefits of school-based counseling, if there is a drawback, that would be it, because somebody does have to bring that kid to an office. I would say, parents are generally responsive, but I think they're happy to have someone to help bear the load of that emotional time that kids are going through. I get feedback from parents to say, how things have changed positively after starting therapy. But yeah, not as much as I'd like. Is the direct answer. There are times that I really think, and I try to explain to kids who are hesitant to bring parents in. If we can get in the room together, and I can watch you and mom interact, maybe I can pick up on something that would be helpful. But their fear is, but when I get home, I'll hear about it. And I'm afraid that that's so too.
Retaliation.
If a kid is honest about, if they're honest about their relationship with their parents and what they're missing out on, or what they wish was there, there's some not so positive feedback when they get home. So I respect that. I respect that for them. Now, they all know that if I'm afraid for their safety, that's where confidentiality ends. If I'm afraid for your safety, we're going to get somebody alerted and make sure that you are safe.
Right.
And sometimes that's the parent, and sometimes that has to be, DSS.
Right.
So,
well, there's an old proverb that says there is safety in the multitude of counsel.
mm-hmm.
And so having this school base does offer a safety net for the children,
Mm-hmm.
And it also offers, like you said just a few minutes ago, offers some relief for the parents, because when I was growing up, the hardest thing for me was to share my feelings with my parents, right? Because I felt like they was never going to listen to me. But having somebody that can safety, and the safety covers a broad scope,
It does.
It covers a broad scope. So once again, I appreciate what you do. And I think it takes special people to work in that environment and in that setting. And I think it's needed. And I know it's needed here in Dillon County, because we suffered a lot of loss in the past few months.
Yeah.
And I don't know the magnitude of counsel that those children had, but I think it's still whatever they had, we need more.
Right.
So maybe the future holds that Dillon County will have the same type of system where we have somebody in-house and not children taken out of the school and taken to a facility for counseling.
Right.
Because that's when it really stands out to their peers, that you was taken out of school and you was taken to that place. But having it done at school as part of curriculum and in the same building.
Same building.
Yeah,
and the way that we I'll speak to that if I can, the way we manage confidentiality with that is that loudspeaker that you just heard, I can buzz it and say, I need so-and-so to come to my office, but they will call them to the office and then they're directed to me. So everything is in place to guard their privacy and their confidentiality, so that when they leave a class, the other kids just hear, oh, she's got to go to the office, or he's got to go to the office for something.
Wow.
So that's an important part of it, is protecting their privacy and, building trust with them. I still have a kid, and I know it's a trust issue, and it's not to do with me, but they'll ask every so often, are you sure nothing will be said? Are you sure? I can tell you this. If I tell you this, will you tell anybody else? And I give them my thing, as long as I know you're safe, I don't tell anybody anything. But if if it has something to do with your safety or someone else's safety, I can't promise. But just that whole thing that there's somebody will hold this information for me and let me process it in a safe place.
Right.
I even had a kid recently that said, I'm afraid if I tell you this, you'll think I'm crazy. And they were hearing voices. And I said, well, crazy is not the word we want to use. There's something going on, and if there's something going on that we can fix, maybe we can fix it with medication. Maybe we can fix it. If we need more than therapy, we can fix it with medication. But crazy is not a word that I would use.
Right.
I would say courageous for you telling me that, because I know that's a lot of courage.
That's right.
So Laura, what does that first counseling appointment looks like? That initial.
So how the process, usually I get a referral, and it could be the kid walking in my office. It could be an email from a teacher, or a note in my mailbox up front. Generally, I reach out to the parent first, because it is their child, and this is some information that I've gotten. I want to speak to them about counseling, and this is how it happens here at the school. And once they get all the CareSouth paperwork signed and consent signed, the first meeting with that student is an assessment period. I ask a lot of questions about their history, their emotional state, their use of alcohol and drugs, their their sexual activity, anything, their peer groups, anything, their academics. I just do a big, and it's, I have this thing on ECW that it's an outline, but and also I ask about their faith, if they have a faith, what their faith is, and how important their faith in God is, and that kind of thing. Because if they have that there, I think that gives me a step up, because if you have faith in God, you've got hope that you don't have if you're not a person of faith. So, but just lots of questions, building rapport, getting to know that student, having them ask questions if they need to. But the real work starts after that first one, because I'm getting information, formulating a diagnosis, deciding what goals we want to meet, how we're going to reach those goals, and after that, that's when we really do the work.
So, if I'm a parent, let me ask you this: if there's a parent that's listening to us right now, and we're gonna talk about towards the end how they can get in contact with you. Say I'm a parent at a different school, right? Mm-hmm. At a different school, and I'm looking at this and I'm watching this, and I want my child to get the benefit of that counseling, and we want you, even though you're in that particular school. Would that parent be able to access you?
But I would just consider it case by case. Mm-hmm. When I first started here, I kind of did spread myself a little bit too thin, and I was asked to just take referrals here at this high school. Kari Weatherford is in our call center. Mm-hmm. And she has a list of all of our counselors who are in the school, and can, say, if you're at this school, then, this is the person. And generally you make contact through either the guidance counselor or the principal there. But that's a short no, but I do consider case by case. I have worked with parents who, once we've gotten into it, and it was more based in the parents' anxiety, worry, concern, that I would see them after school. So I won't say a hard no.
Right.
But if it's not right now, if it's not Sherrill High School, it's difficult. I stay. I get to see my productivity numbers that they do on all the providers, and my numbers are almost matching those that are in the office full time. So they keep me really busy here, even though my day most of the time ends at 3 because most kids don't want to stay after school for therapy.
Right.
My school day is pretty packed.
Gotcha.
So I and the other thing is right now, if it's Chesterfield or Marlboro County, Chesterfield County, you're gonna see a therapist, one of us most likely, unless you're at MACD, or I think it's Jefferson Elementary is the other one. You can see a therapist, and there's not one that I wouldn't recommend that works in this field. When you move over to Marlboro, it gets a little bit slimmer, and like you said, in Dillon County and the other, Darlington County, it's a little slimmer, and I do hope that it'll keep growing, that other school districts. And let me just say that superintendent, he came from a school district that had mental health providers in the school. Every school in the district had a mental health provider. And when he came here and realized that wasn't the case here, that was his dream. He's no longer with us. He went on to another school district. But I'm so thankful that he was sent here to say, hey, this needs to be put in place. And the doors have just been swung wide for us here in Chesterfield County. And let me tell you, probably the most difficult year for students and staff and faculty was that COVID year.
Yeah.
And when we came back to school after COVID, and with that fall, that August that we came back after COVID, and the first day, and this is where that thing started. Maybe you don't want to take referrals outside of Sherrill High School. I had 8 students who had suffered the loss of a parent from COVID, and the grief that those children underwent. I had to open up 8 new cases within a week. So now, thankfully, that's dying down, but the referrals definitely have not.
Well, certainly, and I was just wondering that question, but of course, we do have counselors within our centers within every county, including Chesterfield and Marlboro counties.
Right.
We do have a question here. Someone asked, if a child is going to you, do you send resources to the parent that will help them help the child when they are at home as well?
That I do. I mean, not papers, maybe not a lot of handouts, but conversations and giving, making suggestions on what to do. I'm thinking about a young girl who had like panic attacks several days a week, and it was hard for her to stay at school, hard for her to stay in the classroom. And one day her mother was here, and she observed me using some tactics that we have to help people de-escalate from panic attack. And I see that lady occasionally now, and her daughter graduated maybe 2 years ago. She's still using those techniques with her daughter and other people that she has witnessed have panic attacks. So I'm very open to sharing resources. There are some handouts, some things that might be helpful, but generally teaching. But yes, I welcome any interaction with parents and anything that I can do to make any suggestions that I can make. I've had a couple of students that I was not able to help. Their mental illness was beyond what I could manage here at the school. But that parent has recently said, you weren't able to help my daughter, but you saved my daughter's life because you helped me find resources. And I ain't patting myself on the back because I was here, I was doing my job, but that's what he said, that having me here to help him find the resources he need for that child was a lifesaver for his family. And I get feedback like that. So yes, I'm very open to helping parents any way that I can. The biggest issue I have is having, like I said earlier, parent involvement, either because, they're working, they got other kids, they got, lots of stuff going on, or the child is not comfortable with inviting that parent in on whatever's going on with them. But let me just say, if they're in danger, mama's getting called, daddy's getting called, whoever, guardian's getting called, because I want them safe.
So this directed to you. You hear a lot. Like you said, after COVID, those are some of the most difficult times. And I'm sure, all of us, Daniel being a pastor in his role, he hears a lot as well. I've worked with some kids during rehabilitative services. How do you unpack everything that you hear? How do you, I'm talking self-care now. How do you unpack all of that?
Well, I do have an awesome family. I'm one of 6 kids. We're very tight. And family time, I garden. Like this spring and summer, I can't wait to get home and get my hands in the dirt and make my flowers pretty. And most of all, my faith. Daniel, there's a psalm that says, that my tongue is the pen of a ready writer. I realize that this is what I am. I'm an instrument, but I have to rely on my faith to realize that without him, it's not possible. Mm-hmm. So my faith, my gardening, my family. I have 4 beautiful grandchildren that bring me so much joy. I even like my husband most days.
Okay, what do you garden? What you like? What's your favorite?
Oh, flowers. I have, oh goodness, I have all kind of flowers. And we plant. My husband does vegetables. We have tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers and stuff like that in raised beds. But I have hanging baskets. I have hostas. I have. I don't even know the name of some of them, but anything that can stick in the ground and make grow and make pretty, that's what I like to do.
So you have a green thumb.
Well, I have to work at it, but I'm getting better and better, I think, over the years. But my dad and my grandmother I think they instilled that love of gardening in me. So, and I guess I feel like I'm connecting to them because my grandmother and my father are both have both passed on, but I guess I feel like I connect to them when I'm in the dirt.
Well, she's probably gonna kill me for saying this, but I may see my wife over there for some lessons because
mine too.
Yeah.
Send her on. She looks like a nice lady.
Got a plastic tree that I'm starting to worry about too.
Marek, I got a flower. I got a painting. I got a painting that I might, I don't let her get close to that painting of flowers because I feel like they go die too. But that's just us talking. Nobody else don't know nothing about it.
Y'all, you do know that this is a open podcast here.
Don't say that. Don't say that. I don't want to think about that.
Yeah,
she's supposed to hear that now.
Yo.
So Laura, before we wrap up, just want to reiterate one more time, how can a parent or a teacher or anyone at the high school there, how can they get in touch with you if they're interested in enrolling their child in counseling?
Yeah. Well, definitely call the school. The ladies in the front office will either give you, and I can give you my work cell phone number, 843-858-5143. But the ladies here at Sherrill High, CareSouth, I was telling you about Kari. I think I got off topic. Kari Weatherford. You can call the call center and ask for Kari. She can get the information to me. send your student. If your student goes here, send your student to me. Or you come and or call me and we'll make an appointment. I like to do that when the parent can come here and let's sit with me and let's complete the paperwork and let me hear your concerns. And let me just say that just because school is out doesn't mean that we stop. We are my case is a little bit different when Liz and I work this thing out that I do take a month off in the summer because the caseloads go down. Kids, I don't see as many kids, but I'm here. I'll be here through most of the month of June and then start right back in August. So therapy doesn't stop just because school is out.
Absolutely. And we certainly thank you for joining us today. This was very enlightening, some very great information. We know how to get in touch with you. Is any parent out there at Chesterfield High School and they want to get in touch with Ms. Lora, you can go through your office or you talk with the teachers and get in contact with Ms. Lora. She's a wonderful counselor and she's there for the benefit of the children. And we thank you, Ms. Lora, for coming on with us today.
Let me say Sherrill High School. We're in Chesterfield County, but it's Sherrill High School. We do have someone who goes to Chesterfield, but if they ask for Lora over there, they probably won't know who I am. But yet, and something that I am because I am one of the first ones on the block, and we're growing. Amy and Robin have given me the task to coordinate different things with the other school counselors. Mm-hmm. I kind of help them get oriented to their schools and oriented to how to, best practices kind of within the schools. So even if it's not Sherrill High, they can definitely reach out to me and I can help them find someone we have someone available in the school, I can help them find the best way to get in touch with that counselor.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And that's Sherrill High, folks. Sherrill High.
Right. Sherrill High is where I am. Mm-hmm.
That's right. Absolutely. And we thank you again for joining us today. It's important for us to make sure we get the word out and for those kids and those families to get the help they want. And if you're looking for more information on CareSouth Carolina, our behavioral health program, our school counseling program, you can reach out at www.caresouth-carolina.com. You can call us at 1-866-498-0399. Thank you again. And I just want to remind folks that in terms of, and it's getting a little off topic, well, maybe so, but we're in the throes of the PHE, the public health emergency has been lifted. So those folks out there that have Medicaid and has been on Medicaid, please be on the lookout for your mail. They're going to be sending out notices for you because you're going to have to start renewing. They're going to restart redetermination. So please be on the lookout of your mail. Make sure your information and your address and everything is up to date within the system there at DHHS and Medicaid, because we don't want you to lose your coverage because you missed a correspondence or anything. So be on the lookout for that. We can help you with that at CareSouth Carolina. Once you get that notice, if you have any questions, again, you can contact CareSouth Carolina at our website, www.caresouth-carolina.com and 1-866-498-0399. And thank you again, Lora. Stick around
thank you.
A little bit before we go off. And listen, everybody, we are Daniel and Marek, and this is the CareSouth Carolina Community Live Podcast. We'll see you next week.
Next Wednesday,
1:00, when we bring you more of our counselors, our dynamic counselors here at CareSouth Carolina, to bring forth that information in celebration and of Mental Health Awareness Month.